Nothing for me.
Thank you, Reed. And excuse me 1 second, letting my puppy in. Come in, come on. All right. So Melinda, is it time to start meeting in person if we so wish?
You can start meeting in person if you wish. So I thought that it'd be a good thing to talk about and if you can come to a consensus on whether you want to meet in person or continue to meet virtually, that's great. Either way, we probably will still maintain the hybrid option. Or rather, if you decide to meet in person, we'll still retain the hybrid option. Yeah. And if you decide to just meet virtually, then we'll just meet virtually. We don't need to provide a place until, I think, January of 2023.
Mm-hmm. Melinda, do you come into the office or do you work from home?
I'm in the office right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's generally just easier for me to just be here. And so that's what I've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I would just say, I mean, it would be nice to have the hybrid version so people can choose. Like Carl's down in Georgia, so it's great that he can be here. And yeah, I just think it makes sense to do the hybrid.
So does anybody have a desire to meet in person?
I would say I've gotten used to the virtual, but Zoom meetings used to make me fairly exhausted. Maybe they still do. Maybe I've just gotten used to them. I'm fine either way. Sometimes I think it's nice to meet in person, especially if we're looking at big maps or whatever. Is this something we can decide on a week or a meeting by meeting?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you could do that. I am going to say that looks like a couple people. Here's Kim and Eric.
Okay.
If you do decide that, some or all of you are going to come and meet in person, it's fine if you want to go back to doing the snacks thing. I don't think I'm going to be able to manage making coffee for everybody because I'm going to have to do a hybrid meeting and it just takes time to set that up and so forth. So and that's the only thing that I can add to that conversation.
If you had a hybrid, you wouldn't really have to say whether you were going to have it just in person or virtual. It would be either or.
Well, it could be either or, but it's kind of nice to, I mean, it'd be nice to know ahead of time whether anybody from the commission was planning on attending in person. But, I mean, you can just continue as you have been, and I can leave the option open for somebody to be here in person and just, I mean, I guess it would be helpful to know, because if nobody's going to be here in person, then I don't have to set up another computer, you know what I mean? But
Mhm.
if somebody is going to be here in person, it means I have to set up the projector and slides. So that would be really helpful just to know whether or not that's going to happen on a regular basis. Like otherwise, if I just come in here and do a virtual meeting, I'm just sitting at my desk in my office with my computer and there's no additional setup. Like I don't have to set up the projector or anything like that.
Kim and
Gary.
Eric, do you have a preference, or Gary?
Well, I was just going to say that I know with teaching students and such, I think we all get a lot more out of meeting in person than we do on Zoom. And I don't know if that transfers directly to these type of meetings or not, but and I'd be willing to maybe try it. We could try it for a while and then see how it goes and then make up our mind.
The other thing I would add to that is also with teaching, it's a lot of work to do it both ways. Like I really don't want to make you have to run an in-person and an online meeting, Melinda. I don't know if you feel this way, but it's for me to have a hybrid class it's almost twice as much work. It's not just like turning the Zoom on.
I agree. Yeah.
So I guess that's like maybe just like a message for all of us that I think if we could get on a page, if there's one person that's like, I'm uncomfortable coming in, then maybe we just continue online, or if we all feel good about meeting in person, maybe we go back to meeting in person. I don't know how folks feel about that.
I guess
Eric?
I'm okay. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Laura. I'm agreeing with Kim. I feel like if everyone's comfortable going back in, then great, let's do it. But if we have one person who's not comfortable yet, that's fine. And hybrid's been working for 2 whatever plus years. So or not hybrid, but Zoom version anyway. You know, I think I agree. I think it'd be great to get back to meeting in person, but not until we're all ready to do that. And that's just something I think that the town should consider as well. Is I don't know if the town has been thinking about offering hybrid meetings for their groups, but
yeah, I know the select board is doing a hybrid version right now. And, you know, I think there's also like 2 staff members staffing select board meetings at any one time. So it does make a difference. And also, I think the DRB is also running hybrid meetings. I don't know if the planning commission has like really discussed this yet. I mean, one thing I've thought of is being able to offer a hybrid upon request. So I'll just say in the agenda, you know, we can do a hybrid, but give me 24 hours notice if you would like the option to attend virtually. You know, we can do that with some notice.
yeah, I guess. Go ahead, Gary.
Well, I was just going to say that sounds like a great idea too. I mean, there's a likely that one of us or many of us could get COVID again too. So it'd be nice to have that option of still attending the meeting if we're quarantined at home or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or even just plain old sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
So you can't leave I guess I was under the impression that the owl or whatever it is would just be permanently roosted on the table there in the planning and zoning office. Is that not the case?
No, it is. But you know, it's still it's still extra work to set up a hybrid meeting because basically if people are attending in person, you're setting up the projector and you've got the owl, and then you're setting up a Zoom meeting on the computer. And then you're managing both the folks on Zoom and the folks in the room. And a lot of times, you know, it's hard for people to see each other, you know, people who are attending in person to see the people on Zoom and vice versa. So it's, a little, it requires extra management, and it is really almost like running two meetings at once. So
I also think to try to get folks to interact across it's really hard to have a meaningful dialogue between the people on Zoom and the people in person. And I feel like sometimes there will be like this great conversation going on in one of the platforms, and it like doesn't transfer over because the way that people communicate it's not even, right? Like there'll be like some amazing dialogue happening in a chat of a Zoom classroom that the people in the classroom aren't participating in it, or there'll be like this great in-class discussion and like it's at the end of a table that's too far from the microphone for the Zoom students. It's just like really, it takes like a lot on the part of the person managing to be like, okay, this is what's happening over here and we're going to move it this way. And I think that the online option is great because it allows for participation by members of like constituencies that might have a hard time attending in person, and that's a huge benefit. But I do think it requires more staffing, and I don't know that like the town is, much like universities, ready to commit human resources to make that happen in a like equitable way, or a way that's fair to staff. Obviously, I'm feeling this personally.
So maybe the idea of, Melinda had of giving 24-hour notice, if there's something pressing that a lot of people want to attend. And instead of trying to get all those people into that small room at the, down at the office, one of those meetings could be held virtual or hybrid. And so 24-hour notice, but generally, it's just a small group. If it's just nothing unusual is happening. So that might seem like a good compromise.
Yeah, I know that in the past, Reed has mentioned that he really enjoys meeting remotely because he can jump right into work without commuting. But I know he lives around the corner, so it might be a little easier now for him. So,
that is a convenience and a curse with virtual meetings. You jump from one meeting straight into the other without a moment to blink, but you can do that.
yeah.
Sometimes you can attend two meetings at the same time.
Sometimes you can, yes.
I don't think I've ever done that, but anyway.
Okay. It seems like Kim, you had such a great point. It's a lot of work to do hybrid. And it sounds like people might want to try to meet in person with the 24-hour option. Carl, how long are you in Georgia still?
Well, this is my last meeting with us down here. Our next meeting, we'll be on our way back. So I won't be at the meeting. But after that, I'll do it either way, either come in or do it at home. Doesn't matter too much to me.
Okay. Gary, how are you feeling about in-person versus hybrid or virtual? You're muted.
I could go either way. I think there are pluses and minuses in both.
Okay.
Like those pesky mute buttons.
Yeah. Well, I think one other thing too, we maybe want to be open to the possibility of meeting in person, particularly if there's a big project, like somebody said earlier, if there are big maps or many people, that are representing a client, that we would be better to meet in person.
And Kim, are you thinking person or virtual?
I don't have a super strong preference, I guess. I want to not make Melinda do two jobs at once.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess you shouldn't consider, what I don't know, I appreciate it, Kim. And yet that's kind of what I've been doing for like most of last year. So in some ways I'm like kind of used to it.
Yeah, I mean, me too, but I'm like, this is not the job description.
Right, it's still hard.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think about like what you would feel would be better as like a meeting experience, and I don't know, just productivity that way. And yeah.
I see it both ways. Like if I think there are advantages. I think that there to being online, I think there are access advantages. Like I guess we didn't really see participation uptick, but I don't have a strong preference. And I know that other folks have a strong preference about gathering in person right now. So I feel like I really just want to, if there's somebody who really wants it one way or the other, then I'm happy to do whatever the group, like if somebody's really uncomfortable meeting in person, then let's keep meeting on Zoom.
Terry, how do you feel?
I'm fine with in person. I'm in the same boat as Carl. I'll be probably in an airport the next meeting on the 20th, so I won't be able to participate till May would be, but I'm fine with in person.
And I realizing looking at the calendar that I also will not be here for the meeting on the 20th, just FYI.
Carl, muted.
Yeah, so that's 3 of us that won't be here next meeting.
Uh-huh.
I wonder if we should meet. Melinda, what do you usually do if there are a lot of people who aren't able to attend?
Well, if we have 4 that can attend, that's quorum. But so far we have 3 people who say they definitely can't attend. So maybe what we ought to do is I can send out an email and get an RSVP for the next meeting, because there is a pre-app that we should take a look at, and that's the latest that we can do it, is by the next meeting. So if we don't do it, then you're gonna miss your opportunity to look at that pre-app. It's for a 2-lot residential subdivision.
Okay, yeah, so sounds like we should definitely meet. All right, so hopefully the 4 remaining members can meet on that day.
Okay.
Yeah, I can log in if I need to, but I'm planning to be on vacation that week.
Ooh.
And not in Vermont.
You should just go on vacation.
Yeah, I agree.
That was my
Yeah.
intent, but
Okay, so people seem to be fine either way. So
Should we poll our missing member before we make a decision?
yeah, let's do that.
Okay, sounds good. So for now, maybe plan on keeping it the same. We'll poll Reed, see what he says, and then maybe we can come to some decision next time or something like that, or I don't know. There's no big rush as far as, when you guys are ready to meet in person, we can meet in person. Maybe that'll be in May, maybe later.
I think it's possible that I will be bringing one smaller member of the public to our meetings sometime.
That's always fun.
Yeah, because he goes to Audubon on Wednesdays, and it would be just, I don't think I would make it if I came home.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, and I actually really think it's important that we understand that some of these decisions have an impact on members, in particular Melinda, who is setting up the meeting. So Kim, thank you, and it's good to keep that in mind. And Melinda, if there's anything else we can do to make your life easier, please let us know.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. But like I said, I guess the one thing, if we do go back to in person and we're running a hybrid meeting, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to manage the making the coffee part. So just an FYI.
I'm
I
sure we'll
suspect
survive.
so. Yeah.
Yeah, one of us
Okay,
can
tomorrow.
start the coffee maker.
BYOC.
Speaking of which, I need another cup. I'll be right back.
All right, it's time to turn to the minutes of March 16th, 2022.
I had one, I don't know, half serious comment, I guess, on the first page under bullet 4, the last sentence of the first paragraph. Melinda stated that, yes, no application had been submitted. I mean, grammatically, it's correct. It just reads kind of weird.
Okay, I can change that.
I was impressed by how detailed and accurate your description of number 4 was. It was a long discussion and you captured it really well.
Thanks.
There's a lot in here for future meetings also to keep in mind.
Hmm.
Yeah, do you have a list going somewhere else, Melinda? Of future
Laura has a
meeting
list.
topics? Oh, Laura does. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I keep a list and I review it once in a while.
Hmm.
All right. Like Kim, I need to refill my mug too, but the minutes look good to me.
Mhm. Yep. If there's no further comment, do I hear a motion?
I'll move approval of the minutes.
I'll second.
Second.
Thank you, Carl and Terry. All those in favor of the minutes as amended signify by saying aye.
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 Does anyone abstain? Okay, and any nays? All right, the minutes have passed. All right, so we're going to go on to the CSWD Access Road and Scale House application.
Okay, looks like Janine turned off her camera and mic. Oh, there you go. Okay.
Mhm.
So you looked at this in January as a pre-application. The CSWD is proposing to modify their access, create a new access point with a longer approach to their composting operation, and put in a new scale house, reusing an existing residential structure on the property. There were some impacts to Class 2 wetlands, and the CSWD is proposing a mitigation plan to meet the permitting requirements under the state wetlands program and the Army Corps of Engineers. Let's see. So last time you recommended that the applicant submit an erosion prevention and sediment control plan, and they've done so as part of their application. The applicant's wetland mitigation plan should provide greater detail with respect to location and species of proposed planting. So I didn't see a revised wetland mitigation plan, but on the site plan, it does show some plantings along the edge of the wetland buffer. I didn't note that in here. And the watershed protection buffers should be clearly demarcated on the site plan and on the ground by plantings, a fence, signage, or a line of boulders to prevent future disturbance. So page 7 of the applicant's site plan does show a line of trees demarcating the watershed protection buffer south of the access road and south of the scale house parking area. And I can just, we can take a look at that. Let's see, page 7. Yeah. So if I zoom into that, you can see here's the wetland buffer area, the watershed protection buffers as the hatch green area. And there's a line of trees right here. And then there's also some trees along here. So that then come to the recommendations, findings and recommendations. And yeah, so actually I didn't have any recommendations, and you may have some as you discuss the project, but I didn't have any new recommendations to add. So that's what I have to say. And feel free to add whatever you want, Janine.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. Yeah, so as Melissa said, Melinda said, what I tried to do was on that kind of landscaping plan, and I'm using that term because I know, it's a little different in terms of buffer mitigation and things like that, but I think it kind of made sense to be on this plan, is that we're proposing to use trees to kind of demarcate that buffer. We think that, by putting them in a row, it'll make it clear. We are also open to whether we put some signage on a tree here and there or a post in here and there that, denotes what it is. We're totally amenable to that. But I was really just trying to, get some demarcation around on the line of the buffer itself to clarify that. And the places where I don't necessarily have trees were what I could tell by current Earther photos, were areas that were already had some growth. So, obviously we'll meet up with that, but trying to think of what else. Yeah, in terms of a mitigation plan, I wasn't quite sure what else to put other than, I'm not sure if you're interested in things like, I think at one point we had discussed invasive species, for instance. We do have some outbreaks on our property of both Phragmites. We've seen some Japanese knotweed, not necessarily right on this property, but, just around different parts. So we would certainly monitor for that and, deal with that as it comes. In terms of like actually planting in the wetland itself, I didn't propose that because I think that because we're really only, right now it's only being mowed once or twice a year, that I would like to give it the option to try to grow in on itself and see what comes up, because I do think that will work. As I said, as long as we're watching for invasive species and kind of keeping them out of the picture. But I'm open to any other suggestions that you might have.
Gary's got his hand up.
I see Gary's hand up.
Well, I'm looking at this map, same one you guys are here. What are I can't figure out because the writing's so small. What are the kind of red hatched areas with circles around them?
Oh, that's the lighting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's lighting.
Yeah,
Okay,
we
yeah.
combined it on one plan, Gary. Just, I
Okay.
could have had like 13 plan sheets and I was
No, that's
kinda like,
fine.
yeah.
Without a legend, it's a
Yeah.
little hard to figure out what it is.
Yeah.
Although there is some printing, but I can't read that. It's too small. Thank you.
Sure.
And I guess-
Oh, go ahead, Gary.
Well, I just had one other question. I'm having a hard time following where the mitigation is exactly, but some of these areas we had already discussed earlier about, delineating the wetland buffer area and not working in them. Is this mitigation in addition to those areas that we discussed earlier?
No, these are those areas. So,
So it's nothing new, basically. I thought a mitigation would be to work in an area that, conserve or preserve an area that's a new, something, in addition to what we talked about in the past, but maybe I'm wrong.
I think, Gary, my understanding was that this area south of the access road has been mowed historically, so they're restoring that area by ceasing the mowing. So basically establishing a no-mow zone there where it's been historically mowed. So,
But that we talked about last time.
right.
I thought
And
these
that's
new mitigations were supposed to be an additional amount of mitigation, but
yeah,
I'm
no,
not
that
totally up
was
on this.
that was the mitigation that was discussed last time, was stopping the mowing,
Thank you.
basically.
Does that appear in the site plan?
I don't think it's actually, it's actually noted in the site plan. Yeah, certainly, adding a note on the site plan saying, this is the area of mitigation and, mowing will cease in this area, whatever. I think a note to that effect would certainly maybe be helpful in understanding.
I was just going to respond to the invasive species approach, and that sounds fine to me. That may have been me that was asking for that. I don't remember, but I think as long as there's some regular monitoring of those, particularly around the disturbed areas from the construction, to make sure that whether it's phragmites or barberry or knotweed or buckthorn from moving in and dominating that area, that's fine. And if you can monitor the areas that are growing in as well, so much better. Thanks.
I just had one other quick question. So in that northern area that you have in green here, is that all going to be not mowed as well?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's going to be some disturbance during construction, in the area of the road. That's part of the EPSC plan. We're trying to make it very clear in our bid documents too, that, that's a sensitive area and we want to get in and get out of there as quickly as we can and then just get it reestablished. But yeah, ultimately we're not going to mow along that. We're not going to mow the riparian buffer. I'm not sure we're going to mow quite honestly much up in this area at all. There is an existing field road, which we kind of use as a walking path right now. So we might mow up that a little bit, but as you can even see, as you get further, I guess that would be east of the mitigation wetland. You see that little blue, that's a class 3, but there are quite a few of those up in there. So we don't really need to mow up in there at all. But yeah, the intent is specifically with the green areas, we're going to stay out of there. So.
Thanks.
Thank you, Janine. Yeah, this is, I mean, I know we have talked about this before and we're just refreshing our memories. does anyone have anything else? And if not, yeah, do people want to look at the findings again, or are you
Did
ready?
Yeah, and did you want to add? I mean, what I heard was a couple of different things. Maybe making a clarifying note on the plan about where the mitigation area is and what's being proposed there. Just basically, yeah, and then the second being to manage invasive species in the wetland buffer.
Yeah, I was going to ask, I guess, for that recommendation for the applicant to put together, just even just a simple invasive species management plan that demonstrates they'll be monitoring on some regular basis and then addressing any species that are found.
Mhm.
Yeah, can you add those two recommendations, Melinda?
Yeah. And so Eric, what you're asking for is kind of like at final plans, the applicant shall provide a plan to manage and monitor invasive species in the wetland buffer. Something like that. I mean,
So Eric,
And it
could
doesn't
you
have to
help?
be complicated. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could just kind of help me out with what, does that need to be a separate document, or could that be a statement on the actual, plan itself?
I think, I'm not sure what you mean by the plan itself, but just something
Or
that
the
will,
site plan, yeah.
something that will live, I don't know how to say this eloquently, but beyond the current staff that are at the solid waste district. So that
Yeah, understood. Which
memorialized.
is kind of what I'm struggling with. And sometimes I feel like it's almost, if it's not too complicated, it's almost better to put it on the site plan because they continue to live. But, at the same time, I don't want to put too much on there to a point where
Right.
people aren't quite sure what they're looking at. So.
Yep. Yeah. And I'm just thinking like a half a page or a page, it says, we will monitor, we will go out, walk around these areas, I don't know, each spring or each fall or both or something, just to demonstrate that, yes, this is, we did agree to see that WSD did agree to do this monitoring. And if you do find something, which you eventually will, so the waste district will remove the plants or whatever it is.
so yeah, I'm wondering whether it can just live like as like another little box right here on the site plan, just a really simple invasive species will be monitored and controlled with, invasive species in the wetland buffer will be monitored and managed, will be monitored annually and removed as needed or removed, something to that effect.
Mhm.
Just really simple.
Yeah. Eric, is that a good idea? I mean, it's going to be right on the site plan, which means people are going to see it whenever they look at this site plan.
That's fine. I guess how often do people look at site plans?
Well, I think this is probably the most important document as far as preserving the condition. I mean, it could also be just a condition in the condition. It could be both. It could be a note on the site plan and a condition of approval.
Yeah,
and
I'd be
those.
amenable to that. And I agree. Sometimes those two things get separated, but I always go to the plans, but that's me.
Yeah, I think most often, like certainly staff, as we're looking back, as we're looking backwards, we're looking at site plans. And secondly, conditions of approval. So.
Okay, that sounds good to me then. Thanks.
Right. All right.
All right, so Melinda, you have the 2 recommendations.
Yeah.
Okay,
Clear, note on the site plan to clarify the area of wetland mitigation. Note on the site plan related to management and monitoring invasive species. Yeah, I mean, how does that sound? I mean, I'll finesse it a little bit, obviously.
There's one thing I just want to add related to the mitigate or the invasive plants. I wonder if we put a required time period on it, if it would be more likely to happen. Because if you just say periodically or monitor it, then, it might be, oh, did we do that last year or not? I mean, if we have a time yearly or some kind of time, I don't know, Eric, what's your experience with that?
And that's what I was thinking as would be included, Gary, is the
Good.
that is written into the paragraph or whatever, that
Yeah.
the monitoring happened, every April, or I don't know when, June maybe, when things are actually growing. But.
And Eric, does it matter who does the monitoring? I mean, should we require somebody that it could be somebody that doesn't even know what an invasive plant is, I guess, but I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm inclined to, if the applicant, in this case, the solid waste district is required by the town to do this monitoring, then they're going to be on the hook. And if we come out, somebody's walking by there in 5 years and sees a 4-year-old buckthorn tree, well, they're going to be on the hook to deal with it.
yeah.
And I was just going to add, in terms of like the monitoring and stuff, we're amenable. June makes sense. Or if you want to do it twice a year, and, you might want to add as part of the condition, that we not only are we monitoring, but somehow we're keeping records of that, so that if you ever want to go back and, I'll probably come up with some kind of small form like I do for stormwater inspections, where, I have to get out a few times a year and walk around and look at different things. And I'd probably do a similar thing with this, and that way I'll have it, quote unquote, in the file. But yeah, and, Gary, I appreciate that. I don't know every invasive species for sure, but we know some of the ones that we see already that we have on the property, on various properties up and down there. And Melinda, I want to thank you for the hookup of the group down on the Intervale, the tree nursery, the community nursery, I guess is what they call themselves. But they also apparently have, some services available if you need help with invasive, species removal. So, I intend to kind of learn more about that and definitely use their services, as best we can, at least, to have them come out maybe and tell us how to deal with certain ones, because it's different depending on what the species is. So I appreciate that.
Yep. Yeah, they're a great group.
Resource.
Yeah,
they're a great group to work with. And yeah, they definitely will be a helpful, or can be a helpful resource. And with invasive species, it's, a lot of it is about early detection. If you can keep the monitoring program, it's a robust monitoring program, and you're out there, at least once a year, and see something and address it right then it makes life a lot easier to manage them. As opposed to, okay, there's some buckthorn growing there, and then now the buckthorn is getting bigger, and so now it's going to be harder to remove, and now it's actually flowering and producing seed, and then the next year buckthorn's all over the place, and there's something that can be done with it. Same with red vines.
Right.
Yeah, Janine, the nice thing about a lot of these invasives is that in the spring, it's the first thing that's green, and in the fall, it's the last thing that's green. So especially for buckthorn and shrub honeysuckle, so you can just see it wherever it is. So
Yeah.
That's coming up. So that's probably the time to notice it. It's just easy.
Yeah.
so.
And, just so you're aware, I mean, obviously, given kind of what our business is, I mean, Dan Goosen, who's the manager over there, I mean, he's obviously, we're obviously on the lookout for it. We don't want the seeds in our compost either. And people, when seeds do appear, I mean, we hear it, right? People are like, this is coming up, or this is whatever. So, you know, it's something that we're very conscious of, particularly over, you know, in the field where we're doing our windrows and things like that. But yeah, anyway, so we know we have some stuff on the property, and yeah, we'll get a plan underway. I want to do that anyway for our properties in general, how to do that. I'll kind of try to figure out, you know, what the best way to keep records for it that is, but yeah, I appreciate that.
Awesome. Thanks, Janine.
Yeah, thank you. And it's true that people can bring their invasive species over, right? And you kind of cook it and then compost it. Is that right?
Yeah. So, you know, and I'm not an expert by any means, but I have done some reading, but yes, we do take invasive species, and yeah, the temperatures that we get, I guess, is enough to, you know, make sure that they're not spreading. But I've always kind of questioned if, you know, if there's different ways of handling different species, and, you know, I don't know, like I said, I'm not an expert on that, but you know, that's what Dan's told me, that they can take them. So
Especially the garlic mustard. That's a good one to cook.
right.
Smells good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can eat it, cook with it.
Mhm.
That's what they used to do. Does anyone have any other questions for Janine?
So just one question would be that, would you, when you're managing the buckthorn, are you going, or other invasives, would you be using a chemical treatment, which you would do in the fall, or would you be actually going out there and digging them up?
Yeah. Haven't really gotten that far. You know, again, with the chemical, we try to stay away from that, obviously, because we don't want to get anything in our product. And, you know, but I know that sometimes that's just the best way to do it. I think it depends on what the species is, and, you know, and I'm hoping to work with the community forestry group on what some of our different options are. We have a couple of nice chunks of Japanese knotweed that are right on the hill, across from the admin building at GMC, that we work with a group out of Heinsberg. I'm drawing a blank on their name now, but they gave us some different options on how to control that. So I don't know, Eric maybe has more of a background, but I think it is a little bit species dependent, and probably time dependent, right? When you catch it, right? Like you said, if we can get it early, it might be a different approach than if it's, you know, already kind of full grown, and we have to might take a few years to get it to a point where we can get it out. So I would say we'd probably try to stay away from chemicals as best we can. And if we do that, we'd obviously have somebody who's licensed to do that. I know that, you know, there are people that are licensed to apply that in such a way so that you're doing it responsibly. So
I know when you cut buckthorn, you just make it worse if you just leave it untreated.
yeah.
So it kind of compounds the problem.
Mhm. All right, hearing no other questions, do we have a motion to approve the application?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Kim. All those in favor of approving the application from CSWD signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So
Aye.
it's actually the findings and recommendations you're
Oh,
approving.
sorry. Yeah, findings and
What?
recommendations, sorry.
Sorry,
We're
Janine.
gonna supersede the
Skip a hole.
planning commission and
Yeah,
DRB here.
just go ahead and do it.
No need to go through the planning commission. Okay.
Janine, sorry, I just have one more thing to say, Janine, before you leave, but anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Laura.
Oh, that's okay.
Sorry.
No, thank you for saying that, Melinda. So all those in favor of approving the findings and recommendations in the application signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone
Okay.
opposed? Anyone abstain? All right, the findings and recommendations have been passed. So thank you, Janine. And Melinda, you had something else.
Yeah, Janine, maybe I just wanted to give you a heads up about, I was doing the staff report on your application, and looks like there may be just one issue with the lighting. So maybe we can chat about it if you have a chance today, like we could have a short phone chat. Okay.
She's muted. You're muted.
Yeah, I'm nodding,
Okay.
so.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll call you sometime today then.
okay, that sounds good.
All right. Thanks.
All right, thanks you all.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, it's a few minutes before 8. And that is the time we have scheduled to look at the summer field residential subdivision application.
Do you
Is
want to skip ahead? Do you want me to just bring something else up for now, or?
Yeah, let's talk about the Green Up Daytown Fair.
Okay, sounds good. So this year we're doing a little bit of town outreach for Green Up Day, and we're going to actually set up a big tent with some tables on the town green, where planning department, rec department, town manager's office is going to be there, and we're also inviting boards and committees if you wish to have a table there. I think if you wanted to, we would share a table with Catamount Community Forest. And so that's entirely up to you whether anybody has the time or the energy to sit around from sometime between 10 and 2 on Green Up Day, which is Saturday, May 7th. You know, or maybe a couple of people wanted to do it and kind of take turns. Or, you know, I don't know, it's totally up to you. And also like what you would want to have at the table would be a question. So.
Yeah, that was gonna be my first question, Melinda, is do we have any materials that we would provide or make available at the table? I mean, I'd be happy to sit there for an hour or something if we could, you know, get 4 shifts. I think that would be great. But
I think we could come up with stuff depending on your interests and what you think would be important to do outreach on. You know, we do have a lot of materials, so yeah, it's totally.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, and we could even let people know what we have there, like the significant wildlife habitat maps.
That's great. I was also thinking about some of our trail systems and some of the do's and don'ts on the trail system might be
that's a good
interesting
idea
as well.
Or
Trail.
just even alerting people to like the full range of them. And every time I post that, just facts about Catamount post on, which I seem to do annually now on Front Porch Forum, I get like a handful of emails that are like, wait, there are 5 places that I can walk my dog in the woods in Williston. What are they?
That's what I was thinking.
I don't know that we really, like it needs to be like a big effort, but if we just had, excuse me, like a sheet that's like our natural areas, like, I don't know. It's on the website, but.
Yeah, I can also, I did make a map of town-wide trails, and I can maybe print that out, make some copies of that just so for people to have with a little information about each area. So.
Plus we have pamphlets about each natural area. We could.
We do. We're kind of running out, but I could bring some of those as well.
As long as they're all up to date, right? Like, do any of them say you can have dogs at Isham? I would hate.
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a good opportunity to also explain to people why there are no dogs allowed at Isham's, you know, why it's really important to have dogs on leash in some places. So
we could also have QR codes for folks, you know, if we have any information on the website that we want to promote. So,
Yeah, I think Eric's idea was a good one. I mean, I can bike down for an hour and spend time at the table also. And Terry, it sounds like Catamount's gonna have a table there.
That is Trail Days.
Oh,
So
Trail
I don't
Days.
know about Catamount, and that's the day we open up our camp,
so,
so I won't be able to be there.
so Terry, I thought Trails Days was in June.
June 4th, right?
Yeah,
So
this is May 7th.
right.
Green Up Day is
So
May
we-
7th.
So at our next meeting, we can actually put that out there to see if anybody would be able to be there to be part of that table.
Yep.
So we can ask about those 2 dates. So May 7th and June 4th.
Mhm.
And I'll be at the June 4th one.
So how does it sound if I just kind of send out an email to everybody and folks can sign up for shifts? I'll just put down times between 10 and 2, and then just folks can just sign up that way, so that we're all clear on who's coming when.
Yeah,
Sounds
that's
good.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. Okay.
Are there going to be folks like from Sustainable Williston there? And so maybe get a bigger group of folks to.
Yeah, I don't think for this Green Up Day that we've invited groups outside of the town to join in this. I think it's just going to be, because of the size of the tent that we could get, it's just going to be town committees.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah. So, all right.
Thank you, Melinda.
Yeah, now I'm a little surprised Chris isn't here yet for the application. I did send him an email and his representative. So yeah, I'm a little, anyway, so I guess for now we can go on to something else in the staff report if you'd like.
Sure, let's go ahead and, yes, still about a minute till 8, I guess. So let's talk about the trapping policy.
Okay, so I just wanted to give you a heads up that that Bruce Hoare took a look at the policy, and he had some pretty major objections to both providing the GPS location of the trap and putting up signage, because they have had problems with people stealing traps, and he's concerned about theft. My suggestion would be to put a general sign that stays there permanently at the access point to each of these lands that currently allow hunting. These properties down here, just put a sign saying the town reserves the right to conduct essential trapping at any time of year. For that reason, off-leash dog walking is highly discouraged, so that way people have a warning that, there may be trapping going on. I don't know. And besides also putting a note that trapping is prohibited except by authorized agents of the town, but that the town reserves the right to conduct essential trapping.
I guess the one thing that I have, if you scroll back up to the top there, I think someone in the town, like maybe the town manager or the, public works person or both, someone should know where that trap is, because what if the trapper dies? I mean, and then that trap could just be sitting out there and nobody would really know where it was. So I would just think somebody needs to know.
I agree. I was thinking the same thing when I originally read that bullet, was that it would be the trapper providing the location of the trap to the town so that the town could at least know where it is. Not that the town would necessarily publish the location of the trap, but if the town needed to go out and retrieve the trap for some reason, they could have a better shot at doing that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
I
Okay.
just don't think just that the trapper has the location, the knowledge of the location. I think
Right.
somebody in the town should know.
So maybe I could write something like, the trappers shall provide the town administration or the director of public works an accurate location of the trap.
Or both. I mean, just maybe the managers and the public works.
Well, then I would just say the town administration.
Okay, yeah, that would be good. But I
I-
don't think, like you say, I don't think that the whole, you don't need to post it in Front Porch Forum or the Observer or anything.
Yeah,
And hopefully, a trap won't need to be set. I mean, that's my thing, is I hope that the town uses other options to control beaver, like the beaver baffler or the, again, Protect Our Wildlife has funds to pay for those. So hopefully that would be the first option to try to control like beaver.
All right, is there anything else with the trapping policy, Melinda, or was that the main?
that was it.
Okay. Do we need to approve that, or just our 2 cents was all that was needed?
Either way, you can go either way. If you want to take another vote or something, or yeah, that would be fine.
So
It doesn't hurt. Yeah, go
is
ahead,
this-
Eric.
I was just gonna ask, is this, so this is, I mean, I'm happy to take a vote on it again. Just, I don't know, I guess I was wondering if this is a the town policy, then do we
Yeah,
need to
so-
vote on it? But
Right, so this is gonna go to the select board and they're gonna make a decision about whether they want to adopt it as a policy. Your vote on it is really just a signification that you approved the policy.
So, okay,
Because they're gonna
I guess-
ask, they're gonna just say, has the
Yeah.
Conservation Commission reviewed this? Has the Department of Public Works reviewed this? Are they okay with it?
okay, all right, maybe I'm just getting hung up in details, but seeing the word approved by Conservation Commission to me says that, okay, this is the Conservation Commission's policy. So,
Well,
But
yeah, I mean, what I could do, what's missing
Maybe right.
and what should be added is adopted by select board date.
great, perfect,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. All right. Do I hear a motion to approve the changes to the trapping policy?
Before we do that, can I just, so we're changing this first bullet to something to the effect they'll notify the town, but it'll be kept confidential. And then the
Yeah.
second bullet, we're changing to something to the effect of be aware there may be trapping at any time in this area, so keep your dogs on leash. Is that
The second
the
bullet,
gist
will
of
be-
it?
the second bullet will be deleted at the very end. Related signage shall be posted at access point of each of the above, and then this is where that, the town reserves the right to conduct essential trapping. And the off-leash dog walking is highly discouraged.
And just the other day, I hate to say this, but I saw, a little kid with the parent wandering all around. I mean,
Mhm.
that's another thing to think about, is that, kids are curious and, they're
Yeah,
gonna
what
run
is that,
around.
Mom?
Yeah, right. Watch out. Keep your kids on leash.
Well, it just gives people a fair warning.
Right.
that,
That there
you know,
could be.
Mhm. Yeah. All right, any other questions?
I'm trying to decide now if that comment about children is like something that we need to think more about, but like with beaver traps, doesn't seem like a child would encounter that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Would be
we're
more
down in the
for
water.
coyote. Yeah. And did we I mean, we're not going to put that in there, but did we kind of agree that really beaver is our main concern? It's not coyotes, it's not bobcat, it's not otter. It's mostly the beaver.
I think related to town infrastructure, it's mostly the beaver, but you know, there could be a situation where another animal has to be trapped because, you know, I don't know, if for example, there's there's a rabid animal walking around and it needs to be trapped.
Mhm.
Can you make that language at the bottom a little bit bigger?
Oh, sure.
Maybe, I don't know, does everyone feel like signage is, I wasn't thinking about children until Terry just said it, but should, in addition to signage, if we're gonna trap something with a leg hold trap in a place that is highly used, should we, knowing that people access, for example, Allen Brook Nature Trail from all kinds of places, including their backyards, should we also like post it on Front Porch Forum?
Oh,
Or is that a terrible idea? I'm thinking
would
of
not do
how
that.
atrocious it would be if a child stepped on a trap.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not a real risk, but like, no, I'm like thinking of my kids stepping on a trap.
Yeah. So this would,
yeah, I wouldn't use Front Porch Forum because not everybody reads it. And I don't know.
I guess from my perspective, I mean, I think actually knows the point here. If the town, for town trapping, if the town is going to be trapping a nuisance animal for whatever reason, in an area like Allen Brook, I do think that the town should be making every effort to make sure that people who are using that space are aware of it. And that may be beyond more than just one sign at the bridge entrance. Otherwise, I mean, think about the consequences. If a kid does get caught in a trap somehow,
Or somebody's dog. Yeah.
you know, with somebody's dog, and they,
Yeah.
you know, they access the park from a different point, you know, that could be, I don't know, it would not go over very well.
I mean, it wouldn't go over very well, but it also might be like the amputation of a foot.
I mean, if the whole
And that.
reason behind not advertising is because the traps are getting stolen, well, there are ways to chain and lock a trap.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like that's impossible. So if that's the main reason for not letting the public know, that should be a responsibility of the trapper to secure their traps.
I guess I totally agree with you, Terry. I think the safety should take precedent over an occasional stolen trap. So I think we should be saying when there's active trapping going on in an area, and you know, whoever we hire to do the trapping needs to be aware of, you know, people are going to know about this. If you have a problem with your traps being stolen, then maybe you're not the right person to do it, or you need to take precautions.
Right. We don't have to say what the exact location is. But what you do need to say is leg hold traps are being used, you know, today or, you know, this week, be careful or keep dogs on leash.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah.
But where, like, I think we need to put where, and so we're sort of, that's already kind of in here, right? It will be pointed that they're like, going to be used and potentially in those areas, but if not Front Porch Forum, do we need to like write in this that will like essentially give a warning, right? The same way we give a warning for like town meeting.
I think I think this is a point of disagreement that I'm just going to have to let the select board know that the Department of Public Works and the Conservation Commission are in disagreement about this.
Yeah.
Bruce is not going to budge on this. I can tell you that. He very much objects to, you know, putting, you know, and he thinks that trappers will not agree to work for the town if it's, if they're required to advertise that there's trapping on the property. So I don't know.
if that's, I don't know if that's really true. I think that there are trappers who are sympathetic to to knowing that people are using these trails and that they do have dogs and children, and that it's in their best interest and the town's best interest to know, and I think a sign at each of the access points. And if I came to a trailhead and I saw a sign that said, trapping is in progress, please, be cautious, whatever, I might think twice and say, oh, well, I'll go to Mud Pond, or I'll go to Sucker Brook, or I'll go somewhere walking my dog or child where there is no trapping that I know. And usually it would just be for, hopefully a couple days, a week. Usually these situations, it's not, to get an animal that is a nuisance or a problem, it's not months that you're putting that trap out.
Gary?
Well, I just want to say, I don't mind disagreeing with Bruce. I think safety is our concern here. And it sounds like that's more important than, at least to me, it seems more important than an occasional trap that's lost, or
I'm
it'd be
with you
nice.
on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly convey that to Bruce, but all I'm saying is that there is disagreement, and the end result may be that the town doesn't end up adopting a policy because there's disagreement.
Yeah.
And the select
But I will
board,
let Bruce know.
and the select board will decide, right?
Yeah,
the
they'll
select board,
decide, but
it's not Bruce,
normal-
not public.
right,
Works.
the select board will decide, but probably what they'll decide is not to adopt a policy if the departments and the boards can't agree on a policy. That's probably what they'll decide. But yeah,
And
We
so-
disagree. Yeah, we disagree on one bullet of this policy.
no,
I mean,
I understand.
it may be, I think we all have to be flexible.
Right.
in my
Well,
opinion.
I'll let Bruce know what your concerns are, and we'll go from there.
So if the select board does not adopt the policy, then what's the default?
The default is that, basically trapping occurs on town lands.
So we should let the public know about that. And this whole thing started because of a petition of concerned citizens.
Right, that's right. So yeah, the default would be anybody can trap on town land, and we should probably, put some signage saying that trapping's allowed.
I think safety's important.
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess I don't understand why Bruce would have a problem if it was a general sign that trapping is in this area. He might just be concerned with people knowing the location of the trap, or am I wrong
Well,
about that?
he's saying that they've had lots of problems with people stealing traps. So he's concerned that if people know that trapping is happening, that they will go out looking for the traps and they'll, take the
Boy,
traps.
that's a far-fetched. I think that's.
I think he
that's-
says it happens. He says it
I mean,
happens.
I believe him that it has happened, but I don't believe him that it happened. Like, I don't want to say I don't believe him, but I believe that it happens. I question how frequently that has been an issue. Like, how many times has that happened?
I mean,
And whether or not we can still get people to do the trapping. I think, are they going to say, nope, I stand a chance of losing a trap. Nobody's going to be at a trap.
so it
And
sounds
just to
like,
point out the logic of this, if it happens, there's currently no signage, which means it's gonna happen no matter what. Like, if it's
Right.
already happening without signage, then it's gonna happen no matter what. Let's at least
So-
protect other.
in the interest of time, can I suggest that we invite Bruce to a meeting and you guys can discuss this together? Because it seems like, we're kind of, I think really the next step is just to get you together and have a discussion about this and try to iron out your differences.
I like that idea. Do we think that we could also invite maybe somebody who does professional trapping to offer their expert opinion about like their traps being stolen and like the safety issues and like
Mhm.
how the traps can get placed or would get placed, or like maybe there's some language that they know of that could be included that would be like, well, if you just require trappers to do this type of pit, a child won't step in it, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
As well
Um,
as, would you still be willing to trap in these areas
Right.
if this
Yeah.
sign was, a general sign was put up, or is that going to stop everybody from trapping?
I think I'd like to hear from,
Uh.
I sort of don't want to just be like, oh, Bruce speaks on behalf of the trappers.
okay, I can ask, I can try to make that happen.
Thank you, sorry.
Okay.
Have fun.
I would suggest that because we're running, we're getting close on time, even without the applicant here, we should take a look at the site plan and the recommendations. If
All right,
you're,
thank
if you
you.
guys are
Yeah.
okay with that.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Melinda, trapping season doesn't start till October? Is that true? Right now, yeah, okay. And right
Right.
now, the recommendation is that the town is not giving out any approval for trapping on town-owned lands.
No, we don't have a policy until the select board adopts a policy. So that's not going to happen because we need to have a discussion with Bruce. So right now, there's no policy. Trapping can happen until the select board agrees to adopt a policy.
Okay, I thought there was a recommendation that until something was decided that the town
No,
not giving out permit. Okay, I thought, okay.
we can't, there is no policy until the select board adopts a policy. So. Okay. So this is the formerly what's called the Catamount Country Club, now called Summerfield residential subdivision. They're at discretionary permit. They received allocation for 60 units. And this is a discretionary permit for phase 1. And you made several recommendations at pre-app, and these are the applicant's response to the recommendations. And these are the findings and recommendations.
Melinda, I have a question about open space.
Mhm.
The open space, from what I understand, is where the pool, the community building, the garden, and the parking lot are for those places.
Let's see, bring up a site plan. Yeah, they haven't designated open space on their site plan. On the pre-application, they did designate some open space. There's some along this boundary. Basically, it's going to be along the edges where the wetlands are. And yeah, and including this, which is not really open space. It's more like neighborhood space.
Mhm.
Yeah,
and the golf course wouldn't be considered open space?
That's going to be on a different parcel, so it's not.
Oh, I see.
It's
Okay.
not considered part of their open space.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And it's also not open space available to the public unless you pay the fee and carry around some golf clubs.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
Yeah.
So everything lined in blue is part of this development?
Mm,
No.
This,
it's the
this,
red.
no, this red line is what is how these parcels are going to be split up. So everything from here up is part of Summerfield.
mhm.
So
And
go ahead.
No, Terry, go ahead.
But the total amount of acreage on this is something like 50 acres,
I believe it is 58.
58, and that includes what was
Oops.
outlined in the blue.
No. Oh, wait,
No.
yes. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so yeah, 58.41.
58,
So,
right.
so
And
go ahead.
I think about 30 acres of that is the golf course and the rest is, oh yeah, here it is. Yeah, it's 30 acres, which is the residential development. The remaining 27 acres is the golf course.
So even though so the total is 58 with 27 is the golf course, but does that mean that that can never be developed? But not
No.
really, because they're not.
It's not, that's not open space. They're going to, the parent parcel is 58 acres. They're going to subdivide so that they're going to have a 30-acre parcel and a 27-acre parcel. The 27-acre parcel is going to be the golf course, completely separate from the development.
Mhm. And the community building and pool are for the development and not for the residents of Williston, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Mhm.
Oops, what am I looking at? Okay.
Melinda, I have a question about the wetland reports.
Yeah,
Going over the wetland report based on a site visit on last August 17th, and it identified 10 wetlands. 4 of them were class 2, 6 of them were class 3.
mhm,
The report states that and shows sketch plans of the wetlands, and it clearly states that these are not wetland delineations. And at the end of the whole report, after they describe the 10th wetland, there's a statement that if you disagree, you may request a formal determination of wetland classification. So my question is this what we usually get from on a wetland report? I always thought we got wetland delineations, and we refer to it in the findings as a wetland delineations. But this report, to me, just says that they're only sketch plans.
yeah, let me take a look at that.
Interesting, Carl.
And I was just, I chatted with Melinda yesterday just about the plan, and it looks as if originally they were calling for 141 or 148 units. And now they've gone down to 138. So they had to eliminate a few, I guess, units because of the wetlands.
Okay, what is this the report you're talking about, Carl?
That's the report I'm talking about.
Okay. I can't really answer that because,
Hey, right there, see,
yeah,
sketch map of general wetland area, not a delineation.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that.
Well,
And
what's-
unfortunately, the developer's not here, so we can't.
well, what strikes me about it is if it's just a sketch plan and not a delineation, the buildings are so close to the edge of the alleged edge of the wetland buffers that,
Yeah,
I don't know, it just seems the whole thing is so shoehorned in here.
right.
And the road too is right on the edge of it too.
I mean, I think there is a delineation. I think that this you know, they're saying it's not a delineation because it's like a representation of that. I think they have done a delineation, and I can clarify that with the developer's representative, whether they actually have done a delineation and whether what's on their site plan is representative of that delineation. I can certainly, and they're required to have one at DP. Do you know that?
Well, you know, all I can say is we've got a wetland report, we've got a site
Mhm.
plan. And you can't determine from what we've seen, or at least what I've seen,
Mhm.
that we have wetland delineation. So,
Uh-huh.
So Melinda, can you just point out, so there's 4 class 2 wetlands on this map. Can you just point to where those 4 class 2s
So
are?
there's one here. There's one here. There's
There's
one here.
up in the corner.
And where's
There's
the
one
last one?
In the
I
road?
couldn't find the fourth one either.
Oh, it must be this. It must be down here. That's what I'm guessing. Associated
Well,
with the,
It should be outlined in purple, and there's
there's
the
There's
one that's
the-
just to the left of wetland number 2 that isn't labeled. And just the next one to your right, go up to your right. Right, that.
yeah. So maybe it's
Like-
these two. One,
2 separate
1,
ones.
2, 3, 4.
And there is a purple mark up in the upper left-hand corner near that gravel wetland. That's right in the road.
That's
Yeah,
the
that-
class 3. Those are
That's a
class
class
3.
3.
Ah, 3,
Yeah.
okay.
This one, this one, this one,
Oh, okay.
that one, that one, that one, and that one are all class 3s.
Okay.
And it looked to me from their report that their principal and maybe only distinction between class 2 and class 3 was whether they were a half an acre in area or more.
Yeah, it's both
Interesting.
whether they're over a half acre and whether they're connected to other class 2 wetlands.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I just had a quick question. That big wetland, what is that yellow piece? I can't see that's right on the edge of it. Is that a building or what is that? Can anybody tell?
The big wetland, this,
Yes.
Yeah, what is that yellow?
so
Um,
that is, there's actually a lot that intrudes into this buffer, as well as the building envelope is right on the edge of the buffer. So one of my recommendations was to move that out of the buffer.
I agree.
Some other recommendations, just so you are aware, is there's a stream buffer right here, moving this building away from the stream buffer at least 20 feet away, so that there's an area that people can mow, because people usually want to mow around their homes. And then along here, where the houses are really close to the buffer, really like putting a bunch of signage along the buffer so that people understand that they're not supposed to disturb the buffer at all. Another recommendation has to do with the landscaping, and just saying where they're proposing landscaping along the edges of these wetland buffers, to not plant trees that are tall enough that they're going to pose a threat to in the future to homes, to nearby homes. Same thing with the required landscape elements along the edge, like along here. Don't plant trees that are going to become future hazard trees. And if that means moving the houses back, then that's what it means. Another recommendation is that there should be a condition added that if any tree is removed from a wetland buffer or a required landscape element, that it be required to be replaced with a tree of a similar growth pattern. Just based on our experience, Carl, everybody's aware of what's occurred in Chatham Woods with all the hazard trees that have been removed, just to try and avoid that scenario in the future.
And Melinda, I think it's already in there that there'll be trees planted along rows to delineate the buffer. Am I right? Do I remember that correctly? Or rocks
so-
or something?
Yeah, let's see.
I think I remember seeing that. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so must be clearly demarcated and on the ground boulders or fencing.
Yeah.
And then where watershed protection buffers are within 100 feet of homes or building envelopes, informational signage should be posted along the edge of the buffer to inform the residents of the buffer's purpose and prevent future disturbance. And then, yeah, just this recommendation about buffer, landscape buffer should not include trees that will grow tall enough to pose a future threat to nearby homes. Yeah.
Do you think it's worth adding something? I could see those signs being really valuable, but I also can see them disappearing. I wonder if we could say shall be installed and maintained or something like that. Because
Should be maintain or informational signage should be maintained along the edge of the buffer.
Yes.
About just installed and maintained.
Melinda, for number 2, I just had a question about the 20 feet. 20 feet makes sense, but is that like a number that is somewhere in the bylaw, or is this just makes sense because people?
It's out of the top of my head based on,
Okay.
I mean, I took a number, like, I don't know, like what's a reasonable amount of mowing that somebody would want to do like around their homes? 10 feet seems a little not enough to me, and 20 feet, 30 feet seems a little excessive. I don't know. I mean, I guess that's up for debate.
Okay, I just wondered, it makes sense.
Or how about the possibility of removing residential building number 32?
Yeah.
They could have a little pocket park right there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sounds
they can
great.
decide, I guess, whether a building needs to be removed. There may be room for it somewhere else, or there may be room for it to shift.
Well, if we're recommending more open space, I don't know how they're going to get more. I don't know how they're going to get any open space without removing some of those buildings. I mean, I think it's, you made the point, Melinda, that they started out on pre-app with six acres of protected open space, and now they got no open space. So
yeah, well, it's not shown. I think they still have open space. They're not showing any on the site plan. So,
well,
yeah,
that's smart.
So they need to at least show some open space. They need to identify the areas of open space on the site plan. I kind of have a feeling this application is going to be continued anyway, because there are a lot of outstanding issues. So
You have a feeling that what did you say, that you had a feeling what's going to happen?
That the application is going to get continued, but we'll see. But I mean, there seems to be a lot of outstanding issues, particularly with these wetlands.
Now, will you be putting them back on the agenda since they're not here today?
It depends. I mean, if the application gets continued, that's certainly, and I think if that may make some sense to have them come back. It's unfortunate they're not here.
Is it appropriate for us to add like a note in somewhere that we had questions that may have been answered if they had been here, and that we just like don't have all the information? I don't know. Do we ever do that?
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe the answer is no.
Yeah, maybe in your note.
I think in the staff report, in the DRB staff report, there can certainly be a note saying the Conservation Commission discussed this project at their meeting on April 6th. However, the applicants were not in attendance, and so certain questions have not been resolved. Certain issues could not be resolved because the applicants weren't there to discuss, or something to that effect.
Yeah, that seems more accurate than like, yeah, I think, I
Mhm.
don't know, I feel like that's an accurate depiction of where we're at. Do other people agree?
Yes.
No, I
The
think we certainly need to clarify whether we have demarcated wetlands or not.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
might be a little stronger in saying that, instead of saying the applicant wasn't there, I would say the applicant was not there as they said they were going to be, or something like that. Something to the effect it was a planned time with the applicant and they didn't show.
Mhm.
Right, because they definitely knew that the meeting was happening and they sent all that other information yesterday that Emily had forwarded on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
11 hours before our meeting.
Yeah,
50 maps, 11 hours before our meeting.
yeah, I mean, I think that was partly because I should have realized that the maps were really difficult to open and read, and I could have asked for that information sooner, but it slipped my mind. So that's partly, at least on me, on not getting the information earlier, and I apologize for that. Yeah, I don't know why they're not here. Maybe something came up. I don't know if we should be shaming them in the staff report, but we can at least say that they weren't there when this was discussed.
Yeah, I like the idea. I like your original wording.
Yeah.
So,
You
so
said-
does that mean we don't send findings and recommendations, just a statement that we have too many questions to,
You
too
can
many unanswered questions to provide findings and recommendations?
that's certainly an option, and you can certainly do that if you feel like you still need answers to these questions. That's fine. We can certainly do that.
And this is going on to the Planning Commission or the DRB?
DRB.
DRB.
So wouldn't it would be good for them to see the findings and recommendations, but just that weren't
Well-
able to answer any of them.
I mean, yeah, you can, it's up to you. If you don't feel like you're ready to transmit the findings and recommendations, you don't have to do that. And we can simply say in the DRB staff report that you did not transmit findings and recommendations because you still have too many outstanding questions and that were not able to be answered because the applicant wasn't there. That's certainly an option.
I guess my question is, would DRB move forward even without our?
No,
findings?
they would, my sense is that they would likely continue the application.
Gotcha.
That's my sense. That being said, we don't control the DRB. They can, but I would be surprised if they close the hearing, on a project of this size without Conservation Commission input. I would be very surprised.
Would there be a way just to attach these? I mean, or would that not be a good idea? Just so they can see what some of the questions we had. And
Well, I think that I would recommend just simply stating the questions that you have,
Okay.
as maybe just as a memo, just saying, the Conservation Commission discussed this, weren't able to move forward with findings and recommendations. These are these are the outstanding questions or issues that the Conservation Commission needs to resolve.
yeah, that would be good for them to know what the questions are.
And those questions would be derived from our recommendations?
Well, I think you need to come up with what are the questions that you have that you need answers to. One is, what I'm hearing is, we don't know if there's been a wetland delineation done. So
Right.
has there been a wetland delineation?
Yeah,
Open
that's more
space.
than sketch plans.
Yeah.
And is there open space? Where is the open space?
Yeah.
Some of the buildings that are close to the buffer need to be looked at.
Moved or removed?
Could you scroll up a little bit to the findings, Melinda? Okay, thanks.
So what I'm hearing is the main questions have to do with whether there's been a wetland delineation and where and how much open space there is.
Mhm.
And the buildings that are a little too close to the
Well,
buffer.
that's a recommendation.
Oh,
That's-
okay.
That's right. So, so
could you
this,
go- Oh, go, whatever. Go
so
ahead.
this would be, what I'm envisioning is just a memo kind of along the lines of something like, let's see. Well, all right, this is just an example. It's not for this project, but so something along the lines of this, not exactly this wording, but very simple, just DPW usually says they reviewed the project. They have these questions. So that's what I'm kind of envisioning would be a comment memo from the WCC, and just with a note that this is not our typical staff report, and with findings and recommendations, and this is why, and we still have questions. Here they are. That would need to be resolved before we can issue any findings and recommendations.
Could you go back to the site map again, the plan?
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, and I asked you this yesterday, is the no named stream. Where
Yeah,
was-
which is, that's right. That's right here. Comes in right here. There's, the buffer is delineated by this black dashed line. So that's the stream buffer. So stream is like here.
So the buffer is beyond the, oh, so it's a black, so it's touching that corner, built that unit.
Yeah, correct.
So that's definitely a issue. And then way up to the top, I think it's number 63, way up near the gravel, the wetland, class 2 wetlands in the upper left.
Yeah,
Yeah, that building 63, that lot.
this one.
Yeah.
This one?
no, Yes, yeah. Is that a building that's a little too close to the buffer as well?
Well, it's hard to say. It probably looks like it's, I don't know. I can't see the scale on this thing, but where is it? Oh, okay.
And is that where one of the places where you're concerned about where people want to mow and that they would need a little?
It looks like that may be within, I'm guessing, like, it's pretty close. It's probably like 10 feet or so, 10 to 20 feet away.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that may be another building that seems a little close.
Okay, so.
Melinda, I have a question about affordable housing, just because I realize I don't understand it.
Mhm.
When a developer puts in units for affordable housing, does it mean they're just less expensive and anybody can live there? Or does it mean that they look at someone's income before they're allowed to live there?
I don't think that there's like an income qualification. I think that these are just houses that are that are priced at, there's 3 different levels, either 120% of the median, either there's a formula, either like affordable, meaning 30% of your annual income at 120% median income, 100% median income, and 80% median income. And I'm not sure the level at which these are affordable. I thought that some were affordable at 80%, but I'm not positive of what the mix is here. But no, there's no, you don't have to report your income in order to buy it. Anybody can buy it.
So does that mean it's just smaller? I mean, if it's 80%, does that mean it's just a smaller unit?
Not, I mean, generally, yeah, but like, I honestly can't tell you which of these are the affordables. My guess is that they would be the ones that are in these, either the sixplexes or the fourplexes or something of that nature.
Yeah. And is it always affordable? I guess I don't understand how it works. I mean, somebody moves in and they're like, okay, I'm going to sell this now to.
Yeah, no, it's supposed to be perpetually affordable.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you can't sell it for more than 80% of median income. Okay.
Correct. Yeah. And so the town is actually responsible for monitoring that in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a committee that's working on that in town, affordable housing?
Not currently, no.
Okay. It was some committee like the Justice and something committee. I thought I read it in the Observer somewhere a few months ago.
Are you talking about the equity task force or the? Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
They may be working on affordable housing. They're not really a town committee. They're sort of an independent committee.
All right, any other questions for Melinda?
So are we agreed that we're gonna send a memo with our questions as Melinda outlined? I agree with that. I think that's the correct step at this point.
Yeah, does anyone disagree with that? Okay, Melinda, does that require a formal vote or is that something you can just do?
I'll just put together a memo. I'll share it with you.
Okay. All right. We have 10 minutes left, but we only have two things that Melinda was going to go over, and that was the Streamwise program and the CVCP Conservation Partners meeting.
Yeah, so I know, I thought Eric might know more about the Streamwise. I just briefly saw a presentation on this program and it sounded really, really cool. So I just wanted to let you know that it was out there and it was an emerging program, I think, initiated by LC, Lake Champlain Basin Program.
Yeah, so was that a 30-minute presentation that we did on Friday, the one you saw, Melinda?
Yeah, and I only actually saw the last 15 minutes, so I can't.
So, yep. So yeah, it's a new program that we've been developing over the past couple of years. The idea is that, so it's a voluntary program, and there's a couple of different components. First, it's an outreach campaign, I guess, to people who have property alongside tributaries to Lake Champlain Basin or streams, and to help them understand the importance of buffers and what buffers can do and what they can do on their property to improve and maintain their buffers. Eventually, we'll have I say eventually, I think in the next year, we'll be rolling out a grant program as well that groups can apply for. I don't think landowners can, but groups like town of Williston could apply to get funding to work with landowners and buy trees to plant alongside their riparian areas. What else? We're doing this across the whole basin. Sorry, I saw this on the agenda, so I pulled up some notes on the program. There'll be some desktop assessment methods that interested property owners can access as a resource. And we'll also provide field assessment methods for landowners to use. And then, yeah, there'll be some other local, there'll be some other watershed groups that we're partnering with. And I think, I don't remember which group we're working with here. I can't remember if it's the Winooski Natural Resource Conservation District or the Friends of Winooski, one of those two groups though, in this area. So yeah, it's a new project, new program that we're rolling out. And you know, if you want to learn more, I'd be happy to bring Lauren in from our staff. She can give you the 30-minute overview on the program too. Or you can watch the video. We did record it.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually. That's probably good. Yeah.
But I think it's cool because it could also work in concert with the bylaw amendment that we did recently that allows flexibility in around watershed protection buffers in exchange for mitigation. So this could be a way to like maybe a partnership between those landowners and this program could be beneficial.
Yeah, so I can circulate the link to that recording. And then folks can watch.
That'd be
it.
great. Yeah.
That would be great, Eric. Thank you.
Sure. And if you want to learn more, I can get Lauren from our team to tell you more about it.
Cool. So I just had one last thing to mention, and that's I know that in the previous meeting you discussed wanting to invite the Land Trust and perhaps a few other conservation organizations to a meeting. And I just wanted to say that that's actually going to happen at a Champlain Valley Conservation Partnership meeting in May. I think it's May 25th, like from 1 to 3:30. That group is going to invite some conservation organizations to come and just like speak to that topic of how do you prioritize lands for conservation. So I would say the chances of them coming to like 2 meetings of sort of that same topic are probably pretty slim. So if there's any way that any of you can attend that meeting, that would be a way to have, be part of that conversation. Or I could also have the meeting recorded and we could circulate it at some point.
It would be, yeah, it would be great to attend because then it's virtual, right, Melinda?
Yeah.
Then we could ask questions if we had them.
Do you have times? Do you have the time of the meeting?
Yeah, I think I'll get an agenda in sometime in April, but I believe it's going to be from like 1:30 to 3 or in that time frame on a Wednesday afternoon. I think it's, yeah, May 25th. Yeah. Whatever that date is.
Yeah.
So,
So
anyway.
All right.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
And that'll be recorded probably. So if we couldn't.
Yeah,
make
that'll
it,
be recorded.
recorded. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And lastly, I'm going to be circulating a collection of story maps that the UVM Field Naturalist program just did to you all. They're really impressive, and my hope is that you can have a look at them and we can maybe discuss them next time around. But I sent them around to folks in our office, and it was suggested to do a Planner's Corner posting with the link to those maps. So maybe that'll happen too. But I did want you guys to have a look at them and just, I don't know, just hear your thoughts. But represents a
Yeah.
lot of good work, so.
Thank you, Melinda. That would be really great to see those.
Yep.
Is that the NR 206 class or the other class?
No, it's the other one. It's
The
the
other one.
graduate program.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And Gary, were you able to attend that last Monday's class on agritourism?
No, I was, whoops, am I muted? No, I was not,
Okay,
unfortunately.
I went to it.
anything of note for agritourism?
It was a really interesting discussion and just, you know, a lot to think about with regard to future bylaw amendments. And yeah, it was an interesting discussion. And I think Laura Handy has some pretty cool ideas of stuff that she'd like to do on her farm. And I think, you know, I don't know. I think that it would be, I think it'd be great to see some of that happen. I mean, she's talking about basically having sort of incubator space on her farm and allowing like new Americans to lease land for farming and that kind of thing. So I think that's pretty cool.
So I'd like to remind everybody that their final class is on, what is it, May 9th in the
Yeah.
Monday afternoon, that I think that it might be beneficial to as many of us as possible to go to that. I think we'd learn a lot too.
Yeah.
I went to a few of their classes and they're a great group of students. They've done a lot of work.
Mhm.
All right, thank you. There's a lot of great stuff that came out of this meeting. And does anybody have anything else before we adjourn? Okay, hearing none, we actually are going to adjourn on time. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye
All
now.
right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good
Thanks.
day.
Okay.
Bye-bye.